We're here today at an organic farm in Alachua County, Florida, to talk with Amanda Gevins, a plant pathologist from the University of Florida in Gainesville. Today we're going to talk with Amanda about soil-borne diseases in vegetable systems. So Amanda, how do growers manage soil-borne diseases in vegetable systems?
Well, first off, it's important to use plant resistance. If you can find varieties and cultivars that have substantial resistance to a variety of soil-borne pathogens, it's the most cost-effective means of management, and it's overall most beneficial throughout the growing season. It's also important when you're selecting these resistant cultivars to pick varieties that have horticultural traits that are marketable, that you are expecting. You don't want a disease resistance package that doesn't have a product that you can sell. Also, crop rotation and field hygiene is key in managing soil-borne diseases. You don't want to be planting back into a field that has a high population of pathogens. Also, drainage issues and water overall. Here in front of me is drip tape irrigation. This method of irrigation is great when you're trying to manage a soil-borne disease. It limits the amount of water that goes out and puts it right at the portion of the plant that needs it. Drainage is key when you have pathogens that are surviving in the soil. You'll notice that when you have a soil-borne disease problem in the field, that disease symptom will begin where your water stands. Typically first, wherever after a rainfall or irrigation, if you have standing water, the disease will follow that water field pattern. Also, to manage soil-borne diseases, it's important to manage your nutrition within the field. Keep up on your NPK, know what's going out. Healthy plants will be more resistant to a soil-borne pathogen than a plant that is starved for a specific nutrient. It's also important to start with good transplants. If you're purchasing them, take a very, very hard look at what's going out into your field. If those seedlings look not so great, they're beginning to wilt in some way, reject them, or if you can plant your own and have more input as to what's going on with your transplants, then put your own out, and that way you can really control disease early on. Also, you want to prevent the spread of disease in the field. And this, when you're talking about a soil-borne disease, because the organism, that pathogen is in the soil, wherever that soil moves, you're moving that pathogen, that disease. So if you have field implements, whether it's tools that you're using for cultivation, tools that you use to plant or to put out the transplants, it's key to keep those clean. If you know you have an infected portion of a field and you've planted there first, it's a good idea to stop, clean that equipment, and then move on to the rest of your field so you don't spread infected or infested soil throughout.
Excellent advice, Amanda. So if a grower goes through all these recommendations and they suspect they have a soil-borne disease in their vegetable crops, what types of action should they take?
Well, first off, it's most important to get a proper diagnosis, to know that you have disease and what it is, what that disease is. And it's important to mention that plants may not look so great. And it doesn't always mean that they are diseased. A lot of cases that we have what we call abiotic, or they're not living, they're not transmittable, plant problems. And these can be caused by weather, by nutrition. For example, here, last night we had a frost, and it affects the leaves of this plant. This is Swiss chard. And so this, we know it's not disease because we know the weather that occurred last night. If we do suspect disease, it's important to get those plants submitted to a diagnostic clinic or to contact a county extension agent who may help you in diagnosing that disease. Once we know what the disease is, we can put into place management efforts that are most effective and will be most efficient for that specific disease. So the first step, the short-term disease management, is identification. The second would be tillage. If you know that you have an infected area and it's due to a soil-borne pathogen, it may be a good move to go in and till those plants under. And this will isolate the disease, isolate the pathogen to that one area, and limit the spread throughout your field. If you've made all those efforts and you still have problems with soil-borne disease, there are fungicides and other products that can go out to help you manage that disease.
Great, so it sounds like there are a lot of preventative actions growers can take, and based on the recommendations from a licensed plant identification laboratory, there will also be some in-field or during the season recommendations that growers can take. So Amanda, what products are available to manage soil-borne diseases in organic vegetable systems?
Well, Danielle, there are several products that are approved for use in organic production to manage soil-borne diseases. They fall into three categories or three groups, one of them being biologicals. And these are living organisms, living products. So it's important to follow the label and follow the recommendation on the label for the use of those products. We also have soaps and we have minerals that can be used for managing soil-borne diseases.
Excellent. So we've discussed a lot of management options for treating soil-borne diseases in the short term. And what recommendations do you have for organic producers to manage soil-borne diseases in the long term?
Well, in the long term, crop rotation is very important. It helps to limit the overall population of soil-borne pathogens in your field. It's also important to use cover crops. Soil solarization can also be a very effective means of limiting soil-borne pathogens in soil.
Excellent. I know there are several opportunities for our growers across the state to use cover crops. In the summer, when it's too rainy and too hot, it's a great time to plant cover crops, and also in the winter when it's too cold for vegetables in the northern part of the state. Talked a little bit about short-term management techniques and long-term management techniques, and it sounds like the best recommendations are for growers to use as many of these management methods as possible.
Absolutely, Danielle. It's also key to get accurate diagnosis of disease. It's important to know what pathogens you have in the soil so that you can know best how to manage them in the long term and in the short term.
Excellent, Amanda. Thank you so much.
Thank you.